Hi everyone, welcome back to Unapologetically Mum. So today I want to talk about something really important, and that is direct payments. Now, on paper, direct payments were meant to give disabled people freedom, choice and control over what care they received, with the ability for them to choose the care that felt right for them as long as it met the assessed care needs. And the whole idea was, instead of councils telling you what service you can have, you get a budget and you can buy in the services that you need. And way back when my daughter started receiving direct payments, this is how it was presented to me, that, you know, we worked through and thought about some of the things she might want to do. Like at the time, she was a lot younger then, at the time she wanted to, you know, go to the cinema, she wanted to go bowling, she wanted to have go out of the home without me. And so then they gave her a budget, and in that and they assessed her care needs and said that she needed help to get out and about, and whatever the care needs were. And And it was written in the care plan that, you know, she was going to go and have one-to-one support by this service, and that she was going to go bowling, and she was going to go to the cinema. But, you know, that was like, and that gave her like a budget. But actually, you know, she didn't have to stick to those things. And this is how they said to me, you know, it's fine, as you know, if she doesn't want to go to the cinema, but she wants to go and do something else, and it's meeting the assessed care needs of access in the community, then that's fine, as long as it's meeting the assessed care needs. And that's how we managed our direct payment budget. And to be honest, that's how I thought it was managed, and that I understood the ethos of direct payments. I think I was told about the ethos of the direct payments. Now, you know, 10 or so years later, when my daughters moved up to Northumberland, they have a slightly, I'm finding that they have a slightly different ethos around it. Now, I don't know whether new people going into Surrey are finding these same things, and it's been a progression over time of councils, local authorities kind of trying to take more control back than they originally had in the beginning, or whether it's just a real difference from council to council. I'm not quite sure. But here's the problem. I'm hearing more and more about stories of where councils are micromanaging the direct payments. So saying that, you know, you need to tell us what you're spending the money on, and if that changes, you need to phone the care manager, and you need to tell us what it is, and we'll agree it or not agree it, and things like that. Now, when I've had a conversation with my daughter's care plan isn't, and we're not even receiving direct payments from Northumberland yet, but I am having conversations with social worker and the social worker's manager and all the upper people. And, and I'm saying, oh, okay, so she's going to go to this day service. What if she doesn't want to do that? Oh, yeah, just give us a ring and let us know. And I was like, well, why would I give you a ring? You know, if she's going to switch day service and it's going to meet the same eligible need, I don't need to give you a ring to let you know. And they were a bit like, well, you know, it just wouldn't hurt, would it? And I'm like, but what are you going to do about it? You know, what are you going to do if I just do it and just use the budget on that? You know, it's like, you don't need to know. Why do you want to micromanage everything? So, and I'm hearing in forums and seeing in forums that people are saying, oh, can I use the direct payment for this? And people are saying, oh, you need to call your care manager, you need to just like get the care plan changed, you need to tell them what you're doing. And I'm a bit like, is that true? Do we need to be doing these things? Because as far as I'm concerned, that's not really how direct payments work. And I don't know on what lawful basis. And so then we've got this thing that in the culture, is it becoming in the culture that this is what we have to do? Because the councils and local authorities, social services want to micromanage the direct payments, and this is the shift. And so then if people don't fully understand what their legal rights are, what the care plan is, what the direct payments were like intended for, then they'll just, if they're new to the system and that's how they've been told it has to work, then they're just going to do that and assume that they have to do that. And councils will then just go, oh, that's great for us. Because I have read that councils, that social services, or, you know, the auditing, the financial auditors of the direct payment, you know, they want to be able to justify every payment and put it in boxes. And there's like tensions between social services and social workers and financial auditors, and making sure that they have a responsibility. And I think it's tightening like more and more with the budgets being cut, the real life budgets, you know, even though the government are saying we're giving more money to adult social care than ever before, the real life reality of that is that councils are getting about 40% less than what they used to get. So things are, the friction is real, and councils are having to justify the spending, and like, you know, because they have a responsibility for there to be enough money for everybody. So you can kind of see why then auditors might be like, oh, we need to tighten this thing and make sure money's not being wasted because we have a responsibility over public money. But actually, when the direct payments were set up, they were set up to move away from control and a more person-centered approach, and putting it into the hands of the people so that they had choice and flexibility. And that's what it was for. But now, like, things are getting tight with the money. There's this creep in reining it back in, which means taking control away from the person. So, you know, but if families just start to accept this, and if disabled people accept this and don't challenge these things, and then, you know, and then we just get back to this system and creep back to this controlled system, which isn't anything like what the law says, what the Care Act says, what the Human Rights Act says it has to be. And we want to be moving forward towards a more like flexible, caring, you know, vibe, rather than like this control over, this is what we say disabled people can have, this is how we say you're going to do it, this is what's going to happen, and this micromanaged, rigid, controlled thing, which is what we're trying to move away from. And it's like, so, you know, I know there's really smart people trying to come up with different things, and I know like forward thinkers like Simon Duffy, you know, they're like putting out there some self-directed funding models that like councils are taking up, and that is a middle ground. And I've talked about it before in other videos of like, you know, that when you get your personal budget, how it's managed. It can be managed via commissioners where you don't see any of the money, and social services just pay for all the things and you don't have any control. And then there's direct payments that's supposed to give you the most control. And then there's this thing in the middle called individual service funds, I think, which is for people that maybe don't have, that disabled people that maybe don't have people helping them to manage their direct payments, family members or something like this. And so then this is a middle ground of then a care company managing the direct payments on their behalf. And it's kind of like this middle ground. And, you know, but I don't know about that. It's like, yeah, I think it's absolutely fantastic for those that like don't have any advocates around them helping people manage their direct payment budget. So if they can't do it themselves. But I think where, like in this case with my daughter, where I can help her and I'm happy to help her manage her budget, I don't want her to go onto that model, because the direct payment is set out to give the most freedom over the budget, and that's where I want to stay. So so I'm all about having a conversation with Northumberland, and I said to one of the people that I was speaking to, she's a social work manager, saying that, okay, say in the instance where, Ashley buys in a day service, she doesn't want to go there anymore, she buys in another day service, she decides that she wants to go somewhere else, it's meeting the same care needs, the cost is within our budget, I'm just gonna give notice on that and go there. And I said to her, why would I need to tell you that? What really has it got to do with you? And she's like, well, it would just be good practice, and then we can keep an eye on things. And I was just a bit like, why would you want to? Why would you want to micromanage that like that? Why would you want me to phone you? It's just not how it needs to be done. And I was saying to her, and what are you going to do about it anyway? So if we just do it, because we're entitled to do it, where it is in the law to do it. It's in the law to spend the direct payment in ways that my daughter decides is right for her, and meets, as long as it meets those assessed care needs, and it's within the budget, then we don't really need to be telling anyone. And so if we just do it, I said to her, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? And she didn't know. She was like, oh, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't really know. So she's like, I'd have to get back to you on that. And actually she hasn't got back to me on it. And it's like, well, what can they do, really? At the end of the day, they've got a system of auditing. If they're not happy with something, or they want to question something because they don't think that money's being spent properly, then that's their system of auditing and questioning about that. And then, you explain the situation and you go, right, well, she's doing this instead of this, and it's within the care needs and it meets these needs. There's nothing they can do. They can't take it off you. They can't refuse to pay it. They've assessed the needs. It meets the needs. It's in the budget. I don't know. Maybe there are things, and maybe people are having money stopped. There's a recent court case. I'll just bring that up because I can't quite remember it. So, okay, yeah, I found it. So it didn't go to court, actually, because the Lancashire County Council settled out of court. And it was a case between Yo Dunn versus Lancashire County Council. And where Lancashire County Council wanted to reclaim the direct payment. And because they felt it was not being used as they wanted it to be, and they withdrew themselves from the case because they knew they weren't going to win. And it said that the case exposed that Lancashire had been applying a blanket policy of reclaiming direct payments in certain circumstances. And the judgment underlies that local authorities cannot arbitrarily withdraw or reclaim direct payments under a blanket policy. They must assess each situation individually, taking into account personal circumstances and lawful entitlement of the person in receipt of personal budget. So the case was quite important case, because it sent a message out to councils, and it reaffirmed to councils that the principle of the direct payments must be upheld, that flexibility must be upheld, and that councils cannot just make blanket statements, do what the hell they want, and take money off people when they're not spending it in a way the councillors maybe said that they want them to or should. So reinforces the decision that direct payments must be fair, lawful and tailored, and it stands as a powerful legal precedent that and strengthens the recipient's right and helps to preserve the intended flexibility of direct payment. And so, there are laws that say, no, you can't do it. Thankfully, there's laws that, that say that councils can't do things. Councils, social services, social workers, councils, financial auditors, think that they can just do what they want because they're like protecting the public's money or whatever. But it's like, no, there's laws and there's precedents and there's Care Acts and there's Human Rights Act that protect the people and the intended ethos of the direct payments. So then I kind of just think like, well then, should we, the people, like not be curtailing to what social services want and the way that they want it, and actually be challenging and just saying, well, no, we're taking back the control. We have control. We have the right to freedom and the right to decide how we're going to use this money. And we understand, and we're sensible, understanding people that know how things work, and that we can make good choices, and the disabled people can make good choices, and the people that support them can help them to make good choices if they're not able to make that on their own, and that we don't need to be micromanaged. So, I've kind of like taken to like seeing these comments in forums and saying and like reminding people that like, actually what the Care Act says and what the proper use of direct payment is. And, if you just like follow the rules of the direct payment, and you look it up and you teach yourself and you become knowledgeable about your rights around how the direct payment should be spent, and if anyone's saying anything to you about it, you can quote the Care Act. You can like use AI to help you to be able to find the legislation or the Care Act, the pieces in the thing to back up your claim, which is great because now AI is, you need to check that AI is right. But in my experience with the Care Act, it's been mostly right, but I still check it, and you still need to check it before you send it off. But like, with AI, we can now, as non-legal professionals, find out what our true rights are, and hold councils accountable to higher standards instead of devolving back into control and being under the servitude of councils and whatever they think and what they think, and the cult of the expert. It's like they're not an expert. They don't know what the best thing for the disabled person is. They know what they want to do. They know what they need in their lives, and as long as it like is part of their assessed care needs, then spend the money on that. Do that thing. And so I just kind of feel like, we need to be exercising some kind of like assertion of power and control, and, setting the balance of power back into its rightful place, and like just not just doing what the council want because that's what the council wants. And I do get that it's sometimes easier. It's like, oh, the council want it this way, let's just do it this way for an easier life, because nobody's got time to be complaining all the time. But then, if we do that, we can't then argue about the mistreatment or like how things have been stripped away. We need to stand firm, and we need to stand for the rights of disabled people and their rights of choice and their right of freedom. We have a really good Care Act that like does actually support all these things, and we need to use it against the councils that are, maybe rightfully concerned, but that does not mean they can get away with doing what the hell they want to. And so if you're in this position, if you're supporting someone with their personal budget and wondering, if you've been told you've got to tell the social services all the things that you're doing, and you feel like that there's not much freedom within your direct payment, then I challenge you to research and to ask questions to your local authority, your social services, your care manager, your MP, your local councillor, to challenge that this isn't the way that it should be, and ask them to stand down a little bit, for goodness sake. So that's my little rant for today. It's not been, I'm sorry, it's just me kind of like having ideas and like spouting out about things as it comes to me. I'll maybe make another video that's a little bit more like kind of like structured. But yeah, that's my rant today about direct payment. Let me know in the comments whether how you have experienced direct payments. Have you had full control over it like we did in Surrey? Or have you noticed a shift over the years? Have the reins been tightened? Are you new to the subject? Not to the subject. Are you new to direct payments and to a personal budget, and you're finding that it's like a lot of admin and that there's a lot of micromanaging? I'd love to know. I'm just one person and this is my experience. So I'd love to get the conversation going and see what's going on out there. Okay, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.